The enormous alien ship entered Earth's atmosphere on a clear Tuesday morning in April 2047. It hung over New York City like a metallic cloud, silent and still. Screens across the world showed the same image, humanity's first contact with an alien race. Lucy Winters stood on the roof of the United Earth Council headquarters and watched the shuttle descend. As head diplomat of the UEC, this moment represented the peak of her career. Her dark blue suit was perfectly pressed, her short brown hair neatly styled. Lucy had practiced first contact scenarios for 15 years, but nothing could truly prepare her for this moment. "They're really here," said Alan Hayes, standing beside her. The retired Navy captain served as military advisor to the UEC, and his face showed a mix of wonder and worry. "Yes, they are," Lucy replied. She checked her tablet one last time. "The translation matrix is ready. Greg says it should pick up their language patterns quickly." Greg Martinez had devoted his life to xenolinguistics. When the Zarathi had first made contact from orbit 3 days ago, Greg's translation program had worked better than anyone expected. The aliens spoke in complex harmonic tones, but the matrix converted these into understandable English. The shuttle touched down gently on the landing pad. Lucy took a deep breath. "Remember, everyone. Calm, friendly, professional. First impressions matter." Alan nodded, though his hand stayed near his side where Lucy knew he carried a concealed pistol. Some habits never died. The shuttle door opened. With a soft hiss, 3 tall figures emerged. They had smooth gray skin that seemed to shimmer in the sunlight. Their bodies were thin but strong-looking, with 4 arms and 2 legs. Their faces featured large dark eyes and small mouths. They wore shimmering robes with complex patterns that seemed to move on their own. Lucy stepped forward with a warm smile. "On behalf of Earth and all humanity, I welcome you to our world. I am Lucy Winters, diplomatic representative of the United Earth Council." The tallest alien moved forward. When it spoke, its voice sounded like gentle music. "I am High Ambassador Zilvex of the Zarathi Conclave. We bring greetings from the stars and seek peaceful exchange between our peoples." The translation came through Lucy's earpiece smoothly. She maintained her diplomatic smile, though inside her heart raced with excitement and nervous energy. "We have prepared accommodations for your delegation," Lucy said. "If you would follow me, we can begin our discussions in comfort." Zilvex tilted its head in what seemed like approval. "You are most accommodating. The Zarathi appreciate such consideration." As they walked into the building, Alan leaned close to Lucy. "They seem friendly enough," he whispered. "So far, so good," she replied. Over the next week, meetings between humans and Zarathi continued daily. Samantha Powell, the UEC Secretary General, joined the discussions. She was a tall woman with gray-streaked black hair and a commanding presence that seemed to impress even the aliens. "We propose an exchange of scientific knowledge," Samantha said during their 3rd meeting. "Areas of mutual benefit without sharing. Military technology." Zilvex's 4 hands moved in flowing patterns as it spoke. "The Zarathi find this acceptable. We are particularly interested in your biological sciences and would offer our understanding of gravity manipulation in return." The talks progressed smoothly. Too smoothly, in Alan's opinion. During a private meeting with Lucy and Samantha, he expressed his concerns. "They're giving us too much," Alan said, pacing the small conference room. "Advanced propulsion tech, medical breakthroughs, power generation methods. What are they getting in return?" Lucy studied the data tablet in front of her. "They seem genuinely interested in our art, music, and literature, and they've requested mining rights in the asteroid belt." "Just rocks in space," Samantha noted. "We weren't using most of those asteroids anyway," Alan frowned. "Still doesn't add up. Nobody gives away tech centuries ahead of ours just for some mining rights and copies of Shakespeare." Lucy had noticed something else during the negotiations. The Zarathi were constantly watching, analyzing, documenting human reactions. Their dark eyes missed nothing. When humans agreed to their requests, something like satisfaction flickered across their alien faces. 1 month after first contact, The Zarathi requested permission to establish a base on Mars. The UEC agreed, with reasonable limitations. 2 months later, they asked for access to Jupiter's moons for scientific study. Again, the UEC consented with appropriate restrictions. During the 4th month of diplomatic relations, things began to change. The Zarathi expanded their Mars base beyond the agreed boundaries. When questioned, they claimed a translation error in the original agreement. Lucy sat in her office reviewing reports from Olivia Bennett, the commander of Earth's Mars colony. The Zarathi have placed structures in Valles Marineris, Olivia's message read. This area was explicitly excluded in our agreement. When confronted, they simply stated they would discuss it at the next diplomatic meeting. Lucy sighed and set down her tablet. Greg Martinez entered with 2 cups of coffee. "You look like you need this," he said, handing her one. "The Zarathi are pushing boundaries," Lucy replied. "Small things, but consistent." Greg nodded as he sat across from her. "I've noticed patterns in their language use. When they first arrived, they used many terms of equality and mutual respect. Those have gradually decreased. Now they use more terms that in their language have hierarchical implications." Lucy frowned. "You think they're testing us?" "I think they're evaluating us," Greg said. "Every concession we make teaches them something about humans." Later that week, during a scheduled meeting, High Ambassador Zilvex made a new request. "The Zarathi Conclave wishes to establish a permanent diplomatic center in your lunar colony." Lucy maintained her professional smile. "We would be happy to discuss appropriate facilities for a delegation of reasonable size. We require accommodations for 500 Zarathi representatives," Zilvex stated, "and exclusive use of the Northern Quadrant." Even Samantha looked surprised. The Northern Quadrant contained critical Earth defense systems and the main lunar water processing plant. "That would be difficult," Lucy said carefully. "The Northern Quadrant houses essential infrastructure. Perhaps another location?" "The Northern Quadrant is most suitable for our needs," Zilvex interrupted. "The Zarathi have already made many concessions in our dealings. We expect appropriate reciprocation." Lucy noticed Alan's jaw tighten, but his voice remained calm. "We'll need to discuss this request among our council. Perhaps we can find a compromise." The meeting ended without resolution. In the elevator afterward, Alan spoke what they were all thinking. "They're not asking anymore, they're demanding." Lucy nodded slowly. "I've been reviewing all our interactions. Every time we accommodate them, they push a little further. It's like they're mapping our boundaries. Or lack thereof," Samantha added. "I think it's time we showed some firmness in our position." When they reached Lucy's office, an urgent message waited from Diane Miller, UEC intelligence officer. It contained intercepted communications between the Zarathi base on Mars and their ships in orbit. Lucy read it twice, her face growing more concerned. "They describe humans as predictably yielding and lacking resolute character," she translated. "They believe our politeness indicates we are a naturally submissive species." Alan laughed without humor. "They have no idea who they're dealing with, do they?" Lucy looked up at her colleagues, her diplomatic mask slipping for the first time. Perhaps it's time they learned. 6 months after first contact, the Zarathi presence in the solar system had grown considerably. Their ships now regularly traveled between Earth, Mars, and the asteroid belt. What had begun as a few diplomatic vessels had evolved into dozens of ships, many with capabilities the aliens had never disclosed during initial talks. Lucy Winters sat in the UEC Monitoring Center, studying the latest satellite feeds. The room was filled with screens showing different parts of the solar system. Several red dots indicated unauthorized Zarathi positions. "Another mining operation started yesterday," Kevin Rodriguez said, pointing to a cluster of activity in the asteroid belt. Kevin was the UEC's resource allocation specialist, a man with sharp eyes and an even sharper mind for patterns. "That's the 5th one this month." Lucy nodded, her face tired from too many late nights. "And of course they didn't file any of the agreed-upon notices." "They're not even pretending anymore," Kevin said. "Look at these extraction rates." He pulled up a chart showing steep increases in the resources being taken from the belt. They've stripped some asteroids completely bare. The door opened and Alan Hayes walked in with Diane Miller, the UEC intelligence officer. Diane was a compact woman with short red hair and eyes that missed nothing. She carried a tablet filled with the latest reports from across the system. "It's worse than we thought," Diane said without preamble. "The outpost they built on Phobos has been expanded. It now covers nearly a third of the moon's surface." "Phobos wasn't even included in our agreements," Lucy said, rubbing her temples. "They were only supposed to have the small base in the Acidalia Planitia region of Mars." Alan's face was grim. "They're establishing strategic positions throughout the system, military positions." Lucy stood up and walked to the main display. "What about our mining operations on the moon?" Kevin brought up another screen. "Production is down 40% this month. The Zarathi ships keep accidentally disrupting our supply lines. When our people complain, the aliens apologize and promise it won't happen again. Until it does, a few days later," Diane added. Lucy took a deep breath. "I have another meeting with Zilvex tomorrow. I'll address these concerns directly." Alan shook his head. "They'll just give us more pretty words and empty promises. You've tried diplomatic solutions for months, Lucy. They don't respect our position." "We still need to follow proper channels," Lucy insisted. "If we abandon diplomacy, we're no better than—" An alert sounded, cutting her off. One of the screens flashed with an urgent message from Olivia Bennett, the Mars Colony commander. "Patching it through," Kevin said, typing quickly. Olivia's face appeared on screen. She looked stressed, her usual calm demeanor replaced by visible anger. "UEC headquarters, we have a situation. Zarathi ships have landed at our Northern Water Reclamation Facility. They're claiming it as their territory under some provision in Section 12 of the trade agreement." "There is no such provision," Lucy said immediately. "I know that, and they know that," Olivia replied. "But they have 4 ships with weapons trained on the facility. We're outnumbered and outgunned. They're giving us 6 hours to evacuate all personnel." Lucy felt her diplomatic reserve beginning to crack. "That facility supplies water for the entire colony." "Exactly," Olivia said grimly. "Without it, we'd be dependent on them for our basic survival." Alan stepped forward. "Commander Bennett, do not evacuate. Hold your position, but do not engage. We're sending reinforcements immediately." After the call ended, Lucy turned to Alan. "Reinforcements? We have defense vessels around Mars, but nothing that could match their firepower." Alan's expression was unreadable. "We have more resources than you know, Lucy. It's time we showed some of our cards." "You've been preparing for this," Lucy realized. "Of course we have," Alan said simply. "While you kept them talking, we've been getting ready. Samantha approved the measures 3 months ago when they first violated the Jupiter space agreements." Lucy wasn't sure whether to feel relieved or betrayed. "Why wasn't I informed?" "Plausible deniability," Diane explained. "Your genuine diplomatic efforts were more convincing because you believed in them. The Zarathi have been monitoring your vital signs during negotiations." The next morning, Lucy entered the Zarathi embassy in Geneva with a formal protest prepared. The building was an odd mix of human and alien architecture, with smooth curves and strange angles that seemed to defy physics. High Ambassador Zilvex received her in its private chamber. The room was kept unusually warm and dim, with strange scents in the air that the humans had learned were reminiscent of the Zarathi homeworld. "Ambassador Winters," Zilvex said, its 4 arms making flowing gestures of greeting. "What brings you here today?" Lucy kept her voice level and professional. "We need to discuss the situation at the Mars Northern Water Reclamation Facility." "Ah, yes," Zilvex said, its tone dismissive. "A minor dispute over territorial interpretations." "There is no dispute," Lucy said firmly. "That facility belongs to the Earth-Mars colony. Your ships are trespassing and making threatening gestures toward our people." Zilvex's dark eyes studied her. "The Zarathi conclave has determined that the facility falls within our rightful expansion zone, as outlined in our previous discussions." "No such zone was ever agreed upon," Lucy said. "I have brought copies of all signed agreements. There is nothing that grants the Zarathi any claim to that facility or the surrounding area. The alien made a sound that the translation matrix interpreted as something like amusement. Agreements evolve as relationships mature, Ambassador Winters. The Zarathi require that facility for our growing presence on Mars. Lucy maintained her composure with effort. And the 12 unauthorized mining operations in the asteroid belt? The military outpost on Phobos? The interference with lunar mining operations? Were these also part of some evolved agreement I'm unaware of? For the first time, she saw something like surprise in the alien's expression. You have been more observant than we anticipated. We observe everything, Ambassador, Lucy said, just as you do. We have been patient and diplomatic, but that patience has limits. Zilvex leaned forward slightly. The strong claim what they need, Ambassador Winters. The weak accept what they are given. This is the way of all civilized species. Lucy felt a cold certainty settle over her. The Zarathi had fundamentally misunderstood humanity from the beginning. They had mistaken politeness for weakness, diplomacy for submission. You should reconsider your actions at the Mars facility, she said quietly. Withdraw your ships within 24 hours. Zilvex made a dismissive gesture. Or what, Ambassador? Will you send strongly worded messages? Request more meetings? The time for such things has passed. Lucy stood up. For your sake, I hope not. Good day, Ambassador. As she left the embassy, Lucy called Samantha Powell. The diplomatic approach has failed. They believe we're incapable of standing up for ourselves. Then it's time they learned otherwise, Samantha replied. Admiral Cooper has ships ready to move. The Mars situation will be resolved within 48 hours. Lucy looked back at the alien embassy. They have no idea what they've done, do they? No, Samantha said, but they will. Admiral Frank Cooper stood on the bridge of the UEC Defender, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. The ship had been hidden in orbit around Callisto, one of Jupiter's moons, disguised as a research vessel. Now its true purpose was revealed. As weapon systems came online and stealth shields dropped, all ships reporting ready, Admiral, said his first officer, a young woman named Valerie Diaz. Frank nodded, his gray hair catching the blue light from the displays. He was 58 years old and had hoped to retire without ever having to use the weapons at his command. Very well, he said quietly. Begin Operation Boundary Line. Across the solar system, hidden human military assets activated simultaneously. On Mars, defense platforms that had been disguised as communication arrays powered up. In the asteroid belt, mining ships transformed as hidden compartments opened to reveal weapon systems. Near Earth, satellites shifted orbits to create a defensive network. Lucy Winters watched it all from the UEC Crisis Command Center. Samantha Powell stood beside her, both women tense as they followed the operation's progress. I never knew we had this kind of capability, Lucy said. Samantha's face was grim. The UEC Defense Initiative began 10 years ago, long before we knew aliens existed. We were preparing for potential conflicts between Earth nations. When the Zarathi arrived, we adapted our plans. On a large screen, they could see the Mars situation unfolding. The 4 Zarathi ships surrounding the water reclamation facility were suddenly confronted by 6 human vessels that seemed to appear from nowhere. How is this possible? Lucy asked. Where did those ships come from? Edward Vasquez, the military strategist who had developed many of these response options, explained. Some were hidden under the Martian surface in concealed hangars. Others were disguised as civilian transports. The Zarathi scanned them but only saw what we wanted them to see. The human ships took position around the facility, clearly outnumbering the Zarathi vessels. They're sending a message, Admiral Cooper's voice came through the comm system. Putting it on screen. The face of a Zarathi commander appeared. It looked similar to Zilvex but with darker skin markings. This is Commander Torlak of the Zarathi expansion fleet. Your sudden aggression is noted. Withdraw immediately or face consequences. Olivia Bennett, the Mars colony commander, responded from her position inside the facility. This is Commander Bennett of the Mars colony. You are in violation of our sovereign territory. Your ships will power down weapons and withdraw immediately. The Zarathi commander made a gesture of dismissal. Humans do not make demands of the Zarathi. You will learn your place in the proper order of species. Olivia's face showed no fear. You have 30 minutes to comply. The communication ended. In the command center, tension filled the air as they waited. They won't back down, Alan Hayes predicted. They still don't believe we're serious. Then we'll have to show them, Samantha said. She turned to Edward. What's the status of the Jupiter operation? Edward checked his tablet. Admiral Cooper's fleet is in position. The Zarathi battle group near Europa is still unaware of our presence. Lucy looked up sharply. Battle group? I thought they only had research vessels in the Jupiter system. They lied, Alan said simply. Our deep space telescopes detected their true capabilities weeks ago. They have 14 military vessels orbiting Europa, with weapon systems that could easily destroy our outposts. 25 minutes later, the Zarathi at Mars had not moved. Their ships maintained position, weapons still aimed at the reclamation facility. They're calling our bluff, Samantha said. Olivia's voice came through again. UEC command. Request permission to demonstrate our resolve. Samantha exchanged looks with Alan and Lucy. Then she nodded. Permission granted. Minimal force. Targeted response. On the screen they watched as one of the human ships fired a precision beam that disabled the weapon system on the lead Zarathi vessel. The alien ship rocked slightly, lights flickering. What just happened? The Zarathi commander demanded, his face appearing on screen again. How did you— That was a warning, Olivia interrupted. The next demonstration will disable your propulsion systems. You have 5 minutes to withdraw. For the first time, the Zarathi commander showed signs of uncertainty. Its 4 arms moved in agitated patterns. This behavior is unexpected, it said almost to itself. Then it addressed Olivia again. We will withdraw temporarily while this incident is discussed at higher diplomatic levels. The 4 Zarathi ships slowly backed away from the facility, then accelerated into Mars orbit. Cheer went up in the command center, but Lucy didn't join in. This isn't over, she said. It's just beginning. Her words proved prophetic. Less than 3 hours later, an urgent communication came in from the research station near Europa. Nicole Young, the public information officer, rushed into the command center with the news. The Zarathi battle group has opened fire on Station Europa 7, she reported, her face pale. They claim it was housing military assets in violation of our agreements. Lucy felt her blood run cold. That's a civilian research station. There are 47 people there. They watched in horror as the live feed showed the station breaking apart under sustained weapons fire. Escape pods launched from several sections, but Zarathi ships targeted many of them. They're shooting down escape pods, Alan said, his voice tight with anger. They're executing civilians. Admiral Cooper's face appeared on screen. UEC command, the Defender fleet is in position. Request permission to engage and protect the remaining escape pods. Samantha didn't hesitate. Permission granted. Save our people, Admiral. The hidden fleet near Callisto suddenly appeared in the Zarathi sensors. 8 advanced human warships moved toward Europa at high speed. The Zarathi battle group, caught by surprise, scrambled to reposition. This is Admiral Frank Cooper of the United Earth Council Defense Force. Cooper's message broadcast to all Zarathi ships. Cease fire on all escape pods immediately or face destruction. The Zarathi responded by targeting the approaching human ships. Energy weapons fired across the void of space. So be it, Admiral Cooper said grimly. The human fleet opened fire. Their weapons were more advanced than anything the Zarathi had seen from Earth before. 2 Zarathi ships were disabled in the first exchange. In the command center, Lucy watched the battle unfold with a mix of horror and grim satisfaction. We need to contact Zilvex, she said suddenly. This can still be stopped before it becomes a full-scale war. You still think diplomacy has a chance? Alan asked incredulously. Not diplomacy, Lucy replied, her eyes hard. An ultimatum. Zilvex appeared on screen minutes later, its usually composed demeanor visibly shaken. Ambassador Winters, what is the meaning of this unprovoked aggression? Lucy's voice was ice cold. Unprovoked? Your ships just destroyed a civilian research station and murdered scientists in escape pods. A regrettable error, Zilvex said dismissively. The station was believed to house military assets. It housed botanists and geologists, Lucy said. And now it houses the dead. She leaned forward, all pretense of diplomatic courtesy gone. You have 72 hours to withdraw all Zirathi forces from Earth's solar system. All of them. Zilvex made a sound that the translation matrix couldn't interpret. Or what, Ambassador? Or we will remove you, Lucy said simply. You thought our politeness was weakness. It was restraint. That restraint is now gone. The alien's face showed the first real signs of concern. This behavior is, unexpected. You haven't seen anything yet, Lucy replied, and ended the transmission. For 2 days following Lucy's ultimatum, the Zirathi made no visible moves to withdraw from the solar system. Their ships remained in position around Mars, Jupiter, and throughout the asteroid belt. Communications from Zilvex ceased entirely. In the UEC command center, Lucy, Samantha, Alan, and the military leadership watched and waited. Screens displayed the positions of both human and alien vessels throughout the system. They're testing us again, Alan said, studying the tactical display. They still don't believe we'll follow through. Captain Maria Johnson entered the room. She was the commander of the UEC Valiant, one of Earth's most advanced warships. She had dark skin, short black hair, and moved with the confident grace of someone comfortable in zero gravity. All fleet captains report ready, Secretary General, Maria said to Samantha. Final positioning is complete. Samantha nodded grimly. What about the special operations teams? Commander Brandon Lewis has his people in position, Maria confirmed. They can board and secure key Zirathi outposts on my signal. Lucy watched these preparations with mixed feelings. As a diplomat, she had devoted her life to preventing exactly this kind of confrontation. Yet she also felt a grim satisfaction knowing humanity was not as helpless as the Zirathi believed. We've recovered another escape pod from Europa 7, Nicole Young reported, looking up from her communications console. That brings the survivor count to 12. Out of 47, Lucy said quietly. Alan placed a hand on her shoulder. We won't forget. As the 72-hour deadline approached, Daniel Clark, the tactical systems specialist who had developed much of Earth's hidden defense network, provided a final briefing. The system is designed to minimize casualties while maximizing effectiveness, he explained, displaying a holographic map of the solar system. We can disable rather than destroy Zirathi vessels in most cases. What about their Mars and asteroid belt outposts? Samantha asked. Special forces teams will secure those facilities, Daniel replied. We have detailed schematics based on our observation of their construction methods. Grace Phillips, the AI warfare coordinator, joined the conversation. Their communication systems are vulnerable to our electronic warfare packages. We can isolate their command structure, cutting off individual ships from receiving orders. 6 hours before the deadline, sensors detected increased activity among the Zirathi fleet. Ships around Mars began powering up weapon systems. In the Jupiter system, the remaining Zirathi vessels formed a defensive perimeter. They're preparing for battle, Maria observed. Still no sign of withdrawal. They're calling our bluff again, Alan said. They truly believe we're incapable of full-scale military action. 3 hours before the deadline, a single communication came through from High Ambassador Zilvex. Its usually smooth voice now had an edge of tension. Ambassador Winters, the Zirathi conclave has considered your request. We propose a compromise. We will withdraw from the Jupiter system but maintain our presence on Mars and in the asteroid belt. This is generous given the resources we have already invested. Lucy's face remained impassive as she replied. This is not a negotiation, Ambassador. Full withdrawal from all unauthorized positions within the specified timeline. No exceptions. Zilvex's forearms moved in agitated patterns. You cannot seriously expect the Zirathi to abandon our strategic positions. It would be irrational. What's irrational? Lucy responded coldly. Was assuming our diplomatic approach meant we lacked the will or capability to defend ourselves. The Zarathi will not be threatened by a less advanced species, Zilvek said, its voice hardening. If you force this confrontation, you will face the full might of our battle fleets. The transmission ended abruptly. Lucy turned to Samantha and the others. They're not going to withdraw. Then we proceed as planned, Samantha said. Her decision. She turned to Maria. Captain Johnson, you'll lead the Jupiter operation. Reclaim our space and secure any remaining survivors from Europa 7. Maria nodded sharply. Yes, ma'am. When the deadline arrived, human forces across the solar system moved with synchronized precision. The hidden defense network activated fully, revealing capabilities the Zarathi had never detected despite months of scanning and observation. In the asteroid belt, mining ships suddenly transformed as weapon ports opened and stealth fields dropped. They surrounded key Zarathi mining operations, targeting their propulsion and weapon systems with precise energy bursts. On Mars, concealed defense platforms emerged from beneath the red soil, surrounding Zarathi outposts. Special Forces teams, led by Commander Brandon Lewis, launched from hidden bases, boarding alien facilities with practiced efficiency. In orbit around Earth, satellites shifted position, creating a defensive web capable of intercepting any approaching threat. Ground-based laser arrays disguised as astronomical observatories powered up and locked onto specific targets in near-Earth space. But the main battle occurred in the Jupiter system. Captain Maria Johnson led the Valiant and 7 other warships against the remaining Zarathi battle group. The aliens, still believing in their technological superiority, moved to engage immediately. They're targeting our engines, Maria reported as the Valiant shook from a near miss. Standard Zarathi tactics. They want to immobilize us first. Implement countermeasures, Admiral Cooper ordered from his position aboard the Defender. Execute Plan Switchblade. The human fleet suddenly split formation, moving in patterns the Zarathi tactical computers couldn't predict. Grace Phillips' AI warfare systems penetrated Zarathi communications, causing confusion in their command structure. Some alien ships received garbled orders while others lost contact entirely. Zarathi flagship is isolated, Grace reported from Earth. Their battle coordination is compromised. The Valiant closed in on the Zarathi command ship, targeting its communication arrays and weapon systems with surgical precision. Other human vessels engaged the remaining Zarathi ships, their advanced shield technology absorbing enemy fire far better than the aliens had anticipated. This is Captain Maria Johnson to Zarathi vessels, Maria broadcast. Your command ship is disabled. Your communication network is compromised. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. The remaining Zarathi ships attempted to regroup, but without coordinated command, their efforts were disjointed. 2 more alien vessels lost propulsion as human weapons found their targets. They're breaking formation, Admiral Cooper observed. Victory conditions achieved in the Jupiter theater. Similar reports came in from Mars and the asteroid belt. Special Forces teams had secured key Zarathi outposts with minimal casualties on both sides. The alien mining operations were now under human control. Defense platforms had neutralized Zarathi ships around the Red Planet. In the UEC command center, the atmosphere shifted from tense anticipation to cautious triumph. Status reports flowed in from across the system, all confirming the same outcome. In less than 6 hours, humanity had reclaimed its solar system. Intercepted Zarathi communications revealed their shock and confusion. One message from a ship captain to his crew was particularly telling. The humans have concealed their true capabilities. Their apparent weakness was deception. Retreat and regroup immediately. Another transmission from a Zarathi commander to his superiors contained a warning. Revise all assessments of human psychology and military doctrine. Their diplomatic behavior led us to catastrophically underestimate their resolve and technological advancement. As the day ended, Lucy stood by the window in her office, looking up at the stars. Alan joined her, offering a cup of coffee. You look troubled for someone who just helped win a solar system, he said. Lucy took the coffee with a small smile. I was thinking about first contact. How differently this might have gone if they had approached us as equals instead of seeing our politeness as weakness. Some lessons have to be learned the hard way, Alan replied. The question is, what happens now? Lucy sighed. Now we prepare for their response. Zilvex will have reported our actions to the Zarathi Conclave. This isn't over. No, Alan agreed. But at least they know who they're dealing with now. 3 days after humanity reclaimed its solar system, long-range sensors detected new ships entering the outer boundary near Pluto. These vessels were larger than any Zarathi ships seen before, moving with purpose toward Earth. In the UEC command center, the mood was tense, but determined. No one believed the conflict was truly over, but few had expected such a quick response from the Zarathi. 7 capital ships, Daniel Clark reported, studying the sensor data. Based on their size and energy signatures, they appear to be their equivalent of battleships. Time to Earth orbit? Samantha Powell asked. At their current speed, 48 hours, Daniel replied. Lucy Winters had barely slept since the battle. She stood looking at the main display, watching the approaching Zarathi fleet. They could have sent more ships to continue fighting. Instead, they're sending what looks like a diplomatic mission, albeit heavily armed. A show of force, Alan, Hayes suggested. They want to negotiate from a position of strength. Or they want revenge for their defeat, Maria Johnson said. She had returned from the Jupiter operation the previous day, her ship bearing scars from the battle. Samantha turned to Admiral Cooper. What's your assessment? The Admiral studied the tactical projections. These ships could cause significant damage, but our defense network is fully operational now. We could engage them successfully, though casualties would be higher than in our previous encounter. Lucy considered all this information. I believe they're coming to talk, not fight. They've had time to analyze our capabilities. They know we're not the easy target they assumed. Samantha nodded. Let's prepare for both possibilities. Admiral, maintain defense readiness. Lucy, prepare for renewed diplomatic contact. As the Zarathi fleet approached Earth, it slowed significantly, taking up position just beyond the lunar orbit. A single communication pod launched from the largest ship, heading toward Earth. It contained only a message. The Zarathi Supreme Command requests a meeting. Location of your choosing. 3 representatives only. After careful consideration, the UEC selected an orbital platform in neutral space between Earth and the Moon. The facility had been designed for potential first contact scenarios and offered equal ground for both species. Lucy prepared to meet the Zarathi again, but this time with a different approach. No more unnecessary politeness, she told Samantha and Alan as they prepared. Respectful but firm. They need to understand that respect must be mutual, Samantha agreed. When the day arrived, Lucy, Samantha, and Alan boarded a shuttle to the orbital platform. Each wore formal UEC uniforms, a deliberate choice to emphasize humanity's unified presence. The Zarathi shuttle arrived precisely on time. From it emerged 3 aliens. Lucy recognized Zilvex, looking less confident than in previous meetings. Beside it stood a taller Zarathi with elaborate markings on its gray skin, wearing what appeared to be ceremonial armor. The third alien was smaller, with equipment suggesting a scientific or technical role. Secretary General Powell, Ambassador, Winters Advisor Hayes, Zilvex said, its voice carefully neutral. May I present High Commander Torlak of the Zarathi Supreme Command and Chief Analyst Mevzar. Lucy noted that the translation was perfectly accurate. No attempt to manipulate the meanings this time. High Commander Torlak spoke directly. We have come to discuss the recent misunderstanding between our peoples. Samantha's expression remained neutral. A misunderstanding that led to the death of 35 civilians at our Europa research station. A misunderstanding that involved unauthorized seizure of our territory and resources. Torlak's forearms made a gesture that the humans had learned indicated acknowledgement. These events were unfortunate. The Zarathi Conclave wishes to establish new parameters for our relationship. The meeting moved to a conference room designed with both human and Zarathi comfort in mind. Through the large viewport, both Earth and the Zarathi fleet were visible, a constant reminder of what was at stake. "Let me be direct," Torlak said once they were seated. "The Zerathi Conclave has reviewed all interactions with humanity. We have concluded that significant errors were made in our assessment of your species." Lucy felt a small sense of satisfaction at this admission. "What errors specifically?" Chief Analyst Mevzar answered, its voice more musical than the others. "We incorrectly interpreted your diplomatic courtesy as evidence of a compliant nature. We failed to recognize that your restraint was a choice rather than an inherent limitation." "A serious miscalculation," Alan noted. "Indeed," Torlak agreed. "For the Zerathi, directness and assertiveness are natural expressions of strength. We encountered no species before that could be simultaneously diplomatic and militarily capable." "Different species, different approaches," Lucy said. "But respect should be universal." Torlak studied her for a moment. "We have a saying among the Zerathi: true understanding begins after the first battle. It is unfortunate that we had to reach this point, but now we can proceed with clearer perspectives." The negotiations continued for hours. The Zerathi proposed a complete withdrawal from the solar system, with provisions for limited scientific and cultural exchange in the future. They offered compensation for the lives lost at Europa 7, though they carefully avoided using the word reparations. Theater. Zerathi Conclave also wishes to share certain technological insights, Torlak added near the end of the discussions. "Not as payment, but as recognition of a relationship between equals." After the Zerathi delegation departed for brief consultations on their ship, Lucy, Samantha, and Alan had a moment alone. "They're actually afraid of us now," Alan observed. "Not afraid," Lucy corrected. "Respectful. There's a difference." Samantha nodded. "They came expecting to find primitives they could easily dominate. Instead, they found equals who simply chose to be polite until pushed too far. When the Zerathi returned, the final agreements were formalized. The aliens would withdraw completely, maintaining contact only through approved channels. Future meetings would alternate between Earth and a neutral location. Both species would share scientific knowledge with strict protocols to prevent misuse. As the meeting concluded, High Commander Torlak approached Lucy privately. "Ambassador Winters, I wish to ask you something directly." "Of course," Lucy replied. "Your species maintained politeness even while preparing for potential conflict. You showed restraint when you had the capacity for violence. Why?" Lucy considered the question carefully. "Because we've learned through our own history that violence is easy but rarely the best solution. Politeness isn't weakness, it's civilization. But when threatened, we will defend ourselves without hesitation." Torlak made a gesture of deep respect that had not been offered in any previous meeting. "The Zerathi will remember this lesson. We have encountered many species in our explorations, but none quite like humans. You appear gentle until challenged, and then reveal unexpected strength." After the Zerathi departed, Lucy stood at the viewport, watching their ship slowly move away from Earth. The huge vessels accelerated, soon becoming mere points of light among the stars. Alan joined her. "Do you think they've really learned their lesson?" "I think so," Lucy said. "They're practical enough to recognize reality when it confronts them directly." "And the next aliens we meet?" Alan asked. "What will we tell them about the Zerathi incident?" Lucy smiled slightly. "We'll tell them that humanity values peace and diplomacy above all, but we'll also make sure they understand that our politeness is a choice we make, not a weakness they can exploit." Back on Earth a week later, Lucy found a small package delivered to her office. Inside was a Zerathi artifact, a small sculpture of intertwined metal strands that seemed to move when viewed from different angles. A note accompanied it, written in perfect English: "To remind both our peoples that appearances can be deceiving, and true strength often lies beneath the surface. With respect, Torlak." Lucy placed the sculpture on her desk, a reminder of the lessons learned on both sides. Humanity would continue to extend the hand of friendship to other species they might encounter among the stars. But now the galaxy knew that behind that outstretched hand was a strength that should not be underestimated.